How would you characterize the current state of our U.S. economy?
Overheated.
Okay, can we go into more depth on that? What do you mean by overheated?
Look, back in 2020, the Federal Reserve made one of the most nonsensical choices I could have ever imagined, which was to dump $5 trillion in brand new money into an economy that was suffering from a very mild downturn. That, of course, wildly overheated the U.S. economy, huge surge in consumer spending, the insane number of job openings. You fast forward to 2025, and while things have calmed down a bit, we're still overheated. Consumer savings rates are trending down. And of course, we have a federal government deficit that is truly terrifying. If anybody's listening to this interview, they're like, wait a minute, Chief. Consumer sentiment is down. Everybody's unhappy. People are living paycheck to paycheck. They can barely keep up with inflation. These are stories. That's not in the data. Real incomes have been rising very well over the course of the last few years. For those of you out there saying, this guy's a wingnut, does he have no idea how much eggs cost? And the answer is, I know exactly how much eggs cost. I buy them all the time. But the thing here is we have a very specific kind of mind. We go in and we see the high price of eggs, and that dominates our brain. And we never bother to pay attention to all the other stuff and how cheap that is. Restaurant costs have gone up pretty much more than anything else. But that's not the rule. That's the exception that proves the rule.
Let's talk a little bit now as we think of economic conditions across the U.S.
Yeah.
How does it differ in regions of the United States from state to state, or even regions throughout California? Where do we see that?
Incomes are up. They're up in California. They're up in Texas. But when you think about the difference between California and Texas, that difference boils down to one thing. They build housing and they have labor force growth. We won't build housing, ergo we don't have labor force growth. Over the last 5 years, Texas has added almost 1.7 million people to their labor force. 1.7 million. California has added 115,000.
Well, let's get a little bit more local then. Yeah. Here in Riverside County, San Bernardino County.
In the last 5 years, the Inland Empire has been responsible for, are you ready? 30% of all new jobs in the state.
Wow.
The Inland Empire, because they have housing and you can grow. Who else is growing rapidly? Sacramento, Fresno, and of course Stockton. It is the center parts of the state that are growing because they have the young labor force, they have a more expansive housing supply, and as a result of that, they have become the leading edge.
Tell me what the top 3 economic trends that policymakers, educators, and workforce leaders should be paying attention to over the next 12 to 18 months.
Okay. Number 1, pay attention to the U.S. dollar. Because when the dollar starts to drop, that means foreign investors are not interested in our economy, and that's when the wheels really come off the train. Second big trend, what is Congress doing? What is going on with that federal deficit? And then the third thing I'd say is pay attention to building permits here in California, because our biggest problem is the lack of housing.